All right, everyone, it's Friday, January 23rd, 2026, and we are now inside the window where this historic winter storm is about to unleash absolute chaos across the central and eastern United States. What we're tracking for Friday through Monday is a powerful winter system that's going to bring heavy snow and devastating ice accumulations to a massive geographic area, and I need everyone watching this to understand that we are past the speculation phase. This is happening, and it's happening fast. We're going to break down the latest timing, the exact track, and the amounts of snow and ice you could see in your backyard as we push through the weekend into early next week. Following this storm, we're going to experience the coldest air of the entire season, plunging deep into the United States, and I'm going to show you exactly where the most dangerous temperatures and wind chills are going to set up and how long this brutal cold is going to stick around as we move through the final week of January. Let's examine the setup for what is becoming the biggest winter storm of the season by a significant margin. The polar vortex is positioned up over Ontario, Canada. That's our cold air source, and it's absolutely loaded with frigid Arctic air. Simultaneously, we've got a cut-off low-pressure system offshore of California that's playing a major role in bringing this winter storm to life this weekend. Both of these features are going to combine to deliver the cold air and the moisture from the East Pacific Ocean, creating a significant winter storm, the likes of which we haven't seen in several years across communities stretching from the southern plains all the way to the northeast and everywhere in between. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. Now look at the moisture source that's building across the East Pacific Ocean. That's where all the moisture is going to converge for a tremendous amount of heavy precipitation. Heavy snow, freezing rain, as well as all rain that could be heavy across the Gulf Coast. This system is going to squeeze out that moisture in the form of wintry precipitation for millions of people. As we push through the weekend, dry, cold Arctic air is going to be building in on the backside of this storm, which means the heavy snow and freezing rain, that ice accumulation, is not going to be melting anytime soon, even long after the storm impacts your region. Let's look at the specific timing as far as impacts go, because Friday morning is when things begin in earnest. We're already going to have some snowflakes starting to fly from Wyoming down into Nebraska. We're already seeing drizzle, liquid precipitation, beginning Friday morning across West and South Texas. But Friday afternoon is when things really escalate. We're going to start seeing freezing rain and freezing drizzle reaching the surface across the Texas Panhandle and southwest Oklahoma. That's going to mark the start of our freezing rain event, and it's only going to intensify from there. Snow is going to break out across the Front Range and down into the plains. Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and northern Texas Panhandle are going to see snow developing Friday afternoon. Meanwhile, areas like Dallas-Fort Worth are going to be warm enough at the surface and aloft that rainfall will be reaching the ground without refreezing on contact initially. But as we push deeper into Friday, that column of air is going to cool both aloft and at the surface, and that's going to transition precipitation to either snow further north or sleet and freezing rain in that critical transition zone across North Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, and southern Arkansas, pushing into northern Louisiana by Saturday morning. Coastal and southeast Texas should remain all rain as we move into Saturday morning. But a major snowstorm is going to be building across Oklahoma, Missouri, southeast Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and northern Kentucky, eventually reaching West Virginia by Saturday night. Look at how intense our ice storm potential is, stretching from Texas all the way through Arkansas and Tennessee, extending into southern Kentucky, southern Virginia, the Carolinas, and North Georgia. A prolific, catastrophic ice storm is possible with this system if the current setup verifies. This is going to last through the entire day on Sunday, eventually spreading heavy snow up into the northeast by Sunday afternoon and evening. We're talking about snow rates that could reach 2 to 3 inches per hour, and we can't even rule out thundersnow across the I-95 corridor as some warmer air from the Atlantic reaches the core of this system. Meanwhile, the ice storm threat continues with cold air damming as frigid air from the polar vortex works southward across Virginia and North Carolina, maintaining that freezing rain setup, while areas further south into Georgia see all rain by Monday morning. This is a messy, complex, dangerous storm system. Here are the preliminary snowfall numbers, and these are significant accumulations we're discussing for dozens of states. Where you see purple shading, that represents at least 6 inches of snow. The pink shading indicates 10 to 12 inches or greater. Notice the greatest amounts are expected across the Northeast, including northeastern coastal areas that haven't seen substantial snow in several years. South of that heavy snow band in the transition zone, warm air aloft is going to get pulled into the system, and that's going to produce freezing rain. That's where snowflakes from the base of the cloud melt into raindrops and then refreeze on contact with the surface. This freezing rain could occur very significantly across North Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, much of southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and especially across northern Mississippi, extending into middle Tennessee. Then we've got a secondary area of significant ice storm potential targeting Central Carolina, Western Carolinas, and Southern Virginia, extending into parts of the southern Appalachians and southern West Virginia. Those are the critical areas we have to monitor extremely closely. Let me give you specific cities and the amounts you can expect for snow. Wichita is looking at around a foot of snow. Oklahoma City up to Tulsa, we're forecasting 10 to 12 inches. Dallas-Fort Worth is a very difficult call, but it looks like around an inch or two of snow with significant ice on top of that. Little Rock, Arkansas is looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow. Springfield and Jefferson City, Missouri extending to St. Louis, appears to be in the 6 to 10 inch range. Across southern Illinois, near Carbondale, Mount Vernon, and Johnston City, we could see 6 to 12 inches as we move through the weekend. Looking at the ice accumulation forecast further south, the Dallas-Fort Worth area back to Abilene and Wichita Falls could see around a quarter inch of ice, which would cause severe travel implications, making travel very dangerous if not impossible, while weighing down tree limbs and stressing power infrastructure. Isolated power outages may result across North Texas, swinging across to Little Rock, Pine Bluff in Arkansas, Shreveport, Monroe, extending up to Tupelo and throughout northern Mississippi, including the Memphis area in Tennessee. That's where we could see upwards of half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. That represents a crippling ice storm, and widespread power outages would result if that scenario plays out. Further east, we're looking at a major snowstorm for Indianapolis, Evansville, and Louisville, where we could see up to a foot of snow. Across Ohio, Columbus down to portions of Akron and Cleveland are looking at 6 to 10 inches. Northern parts of Kentucky around Lexington and Richmond extending east to Pikeville could see around a foot of snow. Pennsylvania could see up to 20 inches on the eastern side of the state. Northern Maryland, including D.C., all the way up to Boston, New York City, and Albany, could see the bullseye with up to 2 feet of snow with this system extending through Tuesday morning, January 27th. Our second major area of ice accumulation targets southern Virginia, including the Richmond and Roanoke area, Virginia Beach, extending down to Raleigh and the Durham area, Charlotte, back to Asheville, and into Greenville and Columbia, South Carolina, even reaching areas near Atlanta, Georgia. We could see around a quarter to half inch of ice, which would cause scattered to widespread power outages and extremely dangerous travel conditions going into early next week. On the warm side of this system, we could see 1 to 2 inches of rain across coastal areas of the Gulf, including Houston, Texas, extending to New Orleans, Gulfport, Mobile, and Panama City. Some flooding rainfall is possible there as we push into early next week. The rainfall totals taper off towards Savannah, Georgia, and northern Florida, with potentially a quarter inch of rain in those areas. Like I mentioned at the beginning, Arctic air associated with the polar vortex is going to plummet southward into the United States with a one-way ticket to the Gulf Coast as we move into the weekend, especially by Sunday. Below normal temperatures are going to be significantly below normal for what is climatologically the coldest part of the winter season anyway, which just amplifies the dangerous nature of this cold outbreak. Look at our wind chills already this evening across the upper Midwest. We're seeing 30, 40, even 50 degrees below zero at times across Minnesota and North Dakota. These wind chill values are going to be dropping across the Midwest as we push into Friday morning. School cancellations across the upper Midwest are probable as wind chills exceed 50 below zero in many communities. Sub-zero wind chills could extend all the way down into Kansas, Missouri, and southern Illinois, including southern Indiana by Friday morning. By Saturday morning, we're looking at widespread wind chills below zero reaching all the way down into North Texas, southern Oklahoma, central Arkansas, and western Tennessee. By Sunday morning, many areas across central Texas could experience wind chills 5 to 10 degrees below zero. Further east, we're seeing single digits or teens above zero this evening, but that's quickly changing. By Friday morning, wind chills are going to drop into the 10 to 20 below zero range, especially across Michigan and northern Ohio. Saturday morning, much more of the Northeast is going to experience those below zero wind chills, 10, 20, even 30 below up in Maine where the coldest air will be concentrated. Going into Sunday, we could see wind chills exceeding 10 to 20 below zero as we close out the weekend. Now, as we look ahead to the first few days of February, we're seeing a very chilly pattern across the eastern seaboard with potential for low pressure building up the east coast. This is a classic pattern for a nor'easter as we move into next week. We're already laying down the foundation with this weekend's storm. The deeper the snowpack, the colder it will be going into next week, and potentially through February 5th. The foundation is set and poured for cold air. Now we just need the moisture. Will the subtropical jet become more active? Will a low-pressure system develop offshore? That will dictate whether we get a nor'easter and an East Coast snowstorm. It's too early to call definitively, but it's absolutely a trend we need to watch closely. Looking at February in general, we're forecasting lower pressure across the lower 48 and around the Great Lakes, much like we've seen throughout this winter season. That's due in part to high-pressure ridging developing across Scandinavia, the Aleutian Islands, and the Northeast Pacific. This pattern is going to continue bringing colder air via polar flow straight from the Arctic down across Canada and over the deep snowpack that will likely blanket the Northeast by the second week of February. From a snowfall perspective, things across the Northeast look particularly snowy as we move through February. Major nor'easters and East Coast snowstorms are possible leading up to the middle of the month near Valentine's Day. Then we might see more snowfall for the Midwest, Central Plains, and Northern Plains as we get into the second half of February with clipper systems diving from Canada into the northern U.S., or the subtropical jet activating as La Niña weakens and neutral conditions favor more of a subtropical jet setup, phasing systems together, much like we're seeing this weekend.